One of the groups of effects that you'll find there are called Psycore effects. If I press CC here, then it shows all these effects that have CC in front of them. These effects are all from one company called Psycore. I devoted an entire chapter to the Psycore effects, including some new ones that are included with After Effects CS6. I'm going to show you one Psycore effect called Particle World and several instances of it. So these are 6 different instances of the particle world in action here. This first one here, look at this guy. That's one way to do particle world. Another way is like this. Just one effect is all this is. Another effect like that. Just a particle world effect on some different colored objects, different size objects. Reminiscent of a 4th of July thing here. Moving on to this one where you can get some 3D feeling to it with shadows as these guys fall out of the sky. You can also work in 3D here, have these little objects go around this child here in this 3D space. That's just one effect. If you're beginning to go, wow, you can do this with one effect, what can you do with the rest of the effects? That's one of the cool things about After Effects, just so many possibilities. You can also combine effects. So here we have effects combined to create, let's say, backgrounds. I have a bunch of backgrounds here that you can use, let's say, behind a scene or use it with a track mat or some other means. I'll show you what I mean. If I select these guys and press E for the effects, you can see that there are 3 effects here for that one, and 3 for the next one, and 4 for the next, and 2 and 3. So there's combinations of effects that you can do to create some appearance like this lovely blue background here, or like this, or like so, like this, or like this. These are just some ways to combine effects to create backgrounds. Let me move on along here. There we go. Use effects to do color correction. There's a great effect that comes with After Effects called Color Finesse. If I click on this and go up to the Effect Controls panel and open up Color Finesse, there are 2 views of Color Finesse. There's this interface here, called the sort of mini interface that's built into the Effect Controls panel. Then there's a separate interface that operates independently outside of After Effects. I can't show you that one right now because it requires a slightly larger resolution than I'm using here. We work at 1280 by 720 when we do videos for Infinite Skills to make sure you can see the fonts carefully and see the mouse and that kind of stuff. But I'm going to switch to a slightly higher resolution when I do the lesson on Color Finesse and show you that interface. But for example, right here, I can make things just a little bit warmer, like so, maybe like that. I can add a little bit of contrast here by just changing the curve here a bit, just within this one effect here. But there are many more things that I could do inside the larger interface in this one. Something called parenting. Parenting is a way to control motion besides using keyframes the way we did in that first thing with the fish. You can use another way to control things by parenting, having one layer control another one here. So I've got, let's say, the right foot here. If I select these guys, I go right foot and right calf and right thigh. Show you the rotation for those guys. If I want to change the rotation for the foot, for example, I can rotate the foot like that. See, like that. If I want to try the rotation for the calf, it would be the calf like that. Notice how the foot is attached to the calf. And if I want to rotate the thigh, then the thigh controls the calf as well as the foot. So I can operate all 3 things independently, but they always stay connected. And I do that because of parenting. You can tell they're parented by looking over here on the right-hand side. The right foot is parented to the right calf, and the right calf is parented to the right thigh. And I think you get a sense of how that works. Expressions are another way to control layers. We have one layer controlling another, or a mathematical formula controlling one another. If I show you those guys, I have the minute hand is the thing that drives everything here. Open that one up and I have rotation keyframes for that. There's a couple of keyframes there. Say let's rotate the minute hand at a certain rate, a certain number of times throughout this 10-second clip. But I want the other guys to operate off the minute hand. So the hour hand runs at 1/12 the speed of the minute hand. So I use the minute hand to drive it, then I divide it by 12. Then the same kind of thing goes on for these various gears behind here in terms of how they relate to the minute hand, and then also to the hour hand sometimes, because it's like one thing controls another, which controls another. So that's expressions, and that's how these things all work together, just like that. There you go. See everybody working together. That's pretty cool. This whole scene is set up in 3D space. This is not a flat space. These guys are going to walk through 3D space where some trees are off in the distance and some are in the front. This is different than the first one with the fish. These guys really are in 3D space, and you get a chance to see this as you pan across the scene. But before we do that, let me just show you a different view here so you get a sense of how this thing really looks. There they are in 3D space here. If I tilt around a little bit, you get a chance to see that there's some trees up front, trees in the back, sky off in the distance, one kid here, another kid in the background. This gives you a sense of how it's all put together. There you go. So let me show you how this thing really is going to look to folks when you're done with it. Go back to what's called the active camera view. We'll just play this. You get this kind of parallax as you go across. The trees in the front move more than the trees in the background, as you'd expect in a 3D world like this. There we go. Got some drop shadows going along the way. Could have added drop shadows to the trees, but that was just too much darn work. So we're going to select this for now. There we go. It's going down to 2D text in 3D space. We have flat text here in this 3D world, how they pop out of the ground there. And we have this light here that illuminates things. It kind of moves across the scene there like that. You can have objects not only throw shadows, but you can have them throw the color from the object. I've got a light behind it throwing light through here, and then it throws the color on the ground. Same thing with the two trees in the background there. So not only can you illuminate something with lights, the lights can go through them and throw the color on the ground as opposed to a shadow on the ground. Here you get a chance to see that too from the sides. You get a chance to see how this thing's laid out. You got these lights here, 3 lights, and the text there, and the ground in the bottom, and all those various reflections and shadows. There you go. You can also make 3D objects, 3D text, and 3D shapes. This is new to After Effects CS6. This is a true 3D object here, which started its life as just standard flat text, and then we extruded it to this look like that. We have 4 colors there. We've got a color for the front, color for the back, color for the sides, and a color for the bevel there. We have a light shining on this so you can see a little bit better. There we go. We can also do this as shapes as well. Here's one of those gears that came with that clock I showed you earlier. Converted the gear to an After Effects shape. Did the same kind of thing. I extruded it, beveled it, and gave it all different colors here. And we can rotate that in space. And we have a light shining on that as well. You can track motion in After Effects. You can tell After Effects, look at this kid's face here. I want you to follow this kid's face and make keyframes for that motion so I can attach something to it. So this child is moving along there on his bike. What I want to do is I want to put some text on him so the text follows his motion. So we use After Effects to track that motion, take the keyframes created by that tracker, and then apply them to text like so. So now the text will come on like that. And we'll follow him right along. Notice how the text gets larger as well. There you go. And then it fades out there at the end when I drop the opacity on it. You can also do what's called 3D camera tracking. This is a scene that did not have stained glass windows on it to begin with. It just looked like this. Then I use the 3D camera tracker. If I click on this and click on camera tracker, you see little itty bitty marks showing up. Probably won't be able to see them too well, but there are little dots in there. And if you hover your cursor over them, you get this target that tells you there are 3 dots together that create this sort of space like that. If I go over here, it'll be more of an angle. Right about there. You get to use this target as a way to decide what kind of surface you're going to apply these things to. So I decided I want to apply some stained glass to those little flat areas there as opposed to curved areas like that. So I applied stained glass windows to those 3 places like so. And now it'll follow the building because of the camera tracking. I'm not tracking the motion, I'm tracking the way the camera behaved. Camera here in this case pulled back, which you'll see in a second. It's working pretty hard here, so we've got to kind of just drag through it. But you see how those guys stay attached to the building? That's this new 3D camera tracker in After Effects CS6. Pretty amazing, really. Let's go on to this next thing, the last thing. We use the 3D camera tracker as well to track motion in here because we pan across here, or we actually truck across here, and as we move across the scene, it'll identify objects in the scene, allowing you to attach things to those objects. And so here I attach this text to those objects, and notice the text has drop shadows on it too. They have what are called shadow catchers here. You can not only attach the text, but you can have the shadow catchers operating underneath them like that. Pretty amazing. And of course, I could have other things besides text there, but text is relatively easy to add to this. So that is kind of an abbreviated look at most of the features I'm going to cover in this course on After Effects. My guess is you are now primed to dive into this program and learn how to do all this cool stuff.